Hello, everybody who hopefully tunes in at some point to this. I'm going to do a live stream tonight, working on my setup for a performance I have coming up next month. So today is going to be a lot of sort of hanging out and talking about the patch I'm working on and making some cool sounds and answering questions in the chat. So as people sort of filter in, feel free to jump in the chat and ask questions, or if you miss the live stream and you're watching this later, feel free to post your questions in the comments. I usually check those every couple days, so there we go. Heliospherical Dread is here. Hello. Welcome. You are the first person. And that is good. You always seem to be the first person, which is great. Hope you're enjoying your case. So, I had a last second... Sorry, I'm fidgeting with stuff. I had a last second change to my plans. Literally 2 minutes before I went live, I decided I was going to swap out a module. So I took out the SV1, which was right here, and I replaced it with a voltage lab. And I've been using the SV1 in this patch for weeks. So now it's a voltage lab. I wish it was a third Taiga. I don't have a third Taiga to put there. Maybe when they show up in a couple weeks, I will have 3 Taigas. But in the meantime, I have maybe, well, up until Taiga, my favorite Pittsburgh Modular synth of all time, the Voltage Lab. So it will be fun to use it. And actually, it'll be fun because this is the first time I've really had them together in a case. We can play with both of them a little bit and see how similar they sound and maybe how different they sound. I know they sound different just based on what's inside them. But there are some similarities, and we can explore those a little bit as I try to adapt the patch that I had in here with the new thing. So that's where we are. I had a... There's a question in the chat. Awesome. We're all hyped about Taiga. Is it more Buchla or Moog, would you say? That's a good question. If I had to pick one, I would probably say more Moog, just because of the immediacy of the mono synth aspect of it, where you're working with, it's laid out like a, like a mini Moog. So you start with your oscillators into your mixer, into your filter. You have your 2 envelopes, and then your, in our case, the dynamics, but this would, in a VCA. In the Moog, and then your output. So in that sense, the workflow is strongly inspired by the Mini Moog, but a lot of the features that are in it are inspired by more West Coast, with the wave shaping and the wave folders that are done in the oscillators, and then with our dynamic circuit, which is an improvement on Don Buchla's original low-pass gate circuit. So I would say it's modern analog synthesis. I wouldn't say it's necessarily in one camp or the other. I think the path for analog synthesis moving forward is really to embrace all of our history and find ways to integrate it and innovate on it and do new, interesting things. That was a good question. Heliospherical Dread says the SV1 gets used in almost every patch for me. And I agree, for me too. I do have, in the case, I have an East Beast up here, which covers a lot, for me, it covers a lot of the sounds that I use the SV1 for. So for instance, if you have a subwoofer or good speakers or headphones on, you can probably hear this. I'm using the East Beast for like a fuzzy sub bass. So I'm using the sine and saw wave because I wanted that low sine sound, but I wanted it to have a little bit of bite to it. I'm going to be performing on a large system, and I'm not sure exactly what that's going to sound like. So I wanted a bass sound that was flexible enough that if I didn't have the crazy low end that I'm hoping that I have, I can just turn up the filter mod and get some bite out of my bass, and it'll still work with the performance. So that was the idea behind that. Because if I do have huge bottom end, I can just turn the filter mod down and really just use it as a sine wave. But it'll go either way. Wow, Nicol says some very nice things, but been using the synth block lately. That's awesome. Herman has a synth block as well, and he pulls it out when we perform all the time. I love those modules. They are super raw, both the synth box and the synth block. I think, although poorly named because they're named nearly identical. But to be fair, the instruments were almost identical as well. So the difference being one had the state variable filter in it, and one had a low-pass gate in it. But they both had a super, super early Pittsburgh raw sound. And yeah, those were the precursor to the SV1. So really, those were our first step at making a single module as a synthesizer. Now, for the System 10.1, System 1 that we sold those in, they came with some helper modules with the MIDI module and a little mixer, mult, and then an outs. But that was essentially the beginning of what became the SV1, that's pretty cool. Brett Lemming says, nice bubbles. Better than my U220. And then FX card. Yeah, the bubbles are... I'm a big fan of the bubbles. I'm using a lot of pedals in my setup as well. If I switch my camera, you can see here. I have over here below, here's my speaker right here. But below that, I have some pedals. I also have my sequencer right here, which is the Korg SQ64. And then over here, you can see more pedals. I kind of treat pedals as more parts of a modular synth, but I love them. I'm a big fan of pedals. So because this performance is really just me, and it's not me doing doing a Pittsburgh Modular showcase where I'm trying to say here's the Taiga and all the amazing sounds, and here's the Voltage Lab and all the amazing sounds. I was excited to get to use my pedals. So I may be a little overboard with the pedals, but can you do that really? I don't think so. It's been cool. But anyway, the bubbles are, and I used my Dymo label maker to label all the paths because I only get so much time a week to work on this, and I didn't want to forget the patch and all the pedals and everything. So you can see the pedals have like red tape on them with what they are. All these have red tape on them too. And then the modules, I use Dymo label maker. So the bubbles are labeled H2O, and it's an elephant. And actually, I think I can do this without making everybody queasy. I can't promise anything, but we'll try. There we go. Whoa. Up. Sorry, everybody. Zoom in. Okay, so you can see I have H2O for my bubbles. And that's just the elephant. Going into a filter of crows in... Or no, I'm sorry. No, it's not. It is a elephant going... Let's see where it's going here. Yes. Into the filter of crows. And that then goes to a couple pedals that are delay and a flanger or a stereo electric mistress, which is like a flanger and chorus together. But the bulk of the sound is, if I turn off that stuff. So this is just the modular. I'll turn the birds off. Turn the reverb off. All right, so there's my water, which I think is pretty awesome. But I wanted it to be super, super drippy. So we add the electric mistress, which is kind of noisy, but that's all right. And the delay with a super long, like a 1.5 second delay time, just to make it bubblier. And a little bit of reverb to make it sound like it's in a pipe, maybe, or down a well. I don't know. But that's that. I dig it. Super simple, and it sounds super cool. And it's being clocked by it's being triggered by the SQ64. So it is pattern-based bubbles. Then the other sound I have here is the bird sound. And this just goes with the new, or the flexibility of this elephant module, because this is, all right, careful, I'm going to zoom again. Moving down. Oh, sorry, everybody. This is, you can see I labeled this one bird. Bird. This is the elephant being triggered by a Gibbon. And the Gibbon, I accidentally patched the clock of the Gibbon into the pitch output of the SQ64 for one of the voices like 2 weeks ago. And it took me a week to realize what I did. But then when I put it in, I clocked it, stuck it into the clock, the Gibbon was triggering way too often. So I put it back in the pitch, and it just triggers very randomly, which is perfect. So anyway, Gibbon is triggering the elephant, which is then going through the Toad phase shifter with quite a bit of modulation. And then that's going out into a delay, which isn't even on right now. I could turn that on. No, I can't. With a delay that's not plugged in, so it's not doing delay, it's just birds. So that's cool. Another super simple elephant-based patch. So, I'm using the Toad if I would bypass that. This is the sound coming out of the elephant. Pretty similar. So a cool little thing you can do with what is essentially a tom drum sound, or is meant to be a tom drum sound, but it's super flexible. Obviously, you can make water sounds, you can make bird sounds. It's good stuff. Since we can now fold the previously unfoldable waves, what other things would you like to be able to do that are currently undoable? Well, we do some pretty amazing stuff in the new upcoming Voltage Lab that is currently undoable. If you were lucky enough to get one of the Flamingo modules, you can see one of the things that we can do now. What I'm thrilled to do, which I don't get to do very often, which clearly requires some bubbles. What I'm just the most excited to do right now is just make some weird sounds, because I've been so busy I haven't had time to do it. So this evening to me is really what I'm most excited about. That sounds a little cheesy, but it's true. It's true. So when I'm sort of staring off into the distance over here, it's because I'm staring off into the distance over here. It's because this is where the chat room is. So I'm just trying to see what everyone's saying. But anyway, like I said at the very beginning before anybody was here, at the last second, I swapped out my SV1 with a voltage lab. So I'm going to be trying to set up the voltage lab. I don't think the patch that I was using with it, I don't think the patch I was using with the SV1 is really going to work for it, but I will start there and see what we get. So you can see I put the voltage lab in here. This was a SV1. I already patched in my pitch CV. One of these is gate. I think it's the purple one here. So we'll patch that into one of the function generator, or one into one of the dynamics. And this is a clock that I'm sure had a purpose in the SV1, but I honestly can't remember what it was, so that's fine. I'm sure it'll present itself when it's time to figure it out. So let's see what we can do here. I have let's see if we can get this to make some sounds. I turned up the volume thinking it was going to make sound, but I'm forgetting that the voltage lab needs patched. You can't just turn it on. It's no Taiga. Which reminds me that the new voltage lab is the same way. You have to patch it. One of my tricks for the voltage lab was always to use input 2 on the dynamics. If I'm only using one oscillator, to use input 2, and then that way the balance control was like a normal volume control. All right, here's our voltage lab. So let's see. All right, I turned off all the effects on it, so this is just what it's doing, which is it's good. Let's that sounds kind of nice as it is. I like it. I don't think that really works in the patch, but we'll get there. The main reason I swapped out the SV1 for a voltage lab is I want all the sounds in this to sound, I don't want to use any sounds that are overly synthetic. So I want my synthesizers to sound like real things. So that was sort of my challenge to myself. I wanted them to sound real. So the SV1 always, it sounds like a synthesizer, which I want to be able to not necessarily make things sound 100% not like synthesizers, but make them sound, there we go, make them sound more realistic, I guess. There we go. Gearhor asks, what's the Toad module? Toad module is a 12-stage phase shifter. That I think sounds very nice. It's a nice accompaniment for birds. So let's see. This is the main melody of the patch. I think what I should do first is try to tune it. Yeah, bird patches are good. Give me 1 second. I normally have a tuner sitting around, but I've been using Ableton, so it wasn't there. The problem is I'm using the sequencer and I'm not entirely sure. I guess I could do this. And then it's just tuned to D. I know this is riveting, but there we go. Oh yeah, we're living the dream. So the sequencer I have set to D minor because that's what the Korg SQ64 is in, so it kind of works. So here's the main sort of melody of the track. I wanted it to sound sort of like a kind of like a broken guitar. And this is made with this Taiga right here. We'll drop the bubbles in the bird. Max says the saddest of all keys. Yeah, yeah, that's we were joking about that at one of the live streams recently. And so I made it in that key just for that reason. I thought, well, if I can do something fun in D minor, I'll prove everybody wrong. So we'll see. So let's just play around with this a little bit and see if we're close even. Another trick I would use on the voltage lab is to use the second dynamics in VCA mode just as a volume control. Maybe we'll put it after the first dynamics. No, it worked better the other way. Alright. The reason I have to attenuate it is because I'm going into a couple guitar pedals and they seem to be picky. So. Let's get back to our sound here. This is what we're working with. I think that's a pretty darn good sound. Maybe we can add some second oscillator here. I think that's nice. Yeah. That has some nice. I think that works. I didn't want to. I didn't want it to sort of stick out. I just wanted to kind of hang out in the background. We have the second Taiga up here. So this is now T1, as I labeled it, and the voltage lab. Yeah, that's nice. All right, that happened faster than I thought it was going to happen, so I guess that's it. No, there's more. If you have headphones on it, you can probably hear the bass. If not, I'm sorry, but it's low. So I could turn the filter mod up. And this is why I used the sine and saw sound instead of just a pure sine wave, because I wanted to be able to use the filter mod to bring in those harmonics of the saw in case I didn't have the huge crazy subsystem that I'm hoping for. But if I do, it'll just be super deep sub. This sound I just added is another elephant. This is an elephant going into a filter of crows with a low-pass filter with full resonance. No overdrive or anything. And then that is going through a delay over here as well. So lots of delays. I seem to have a delay pedal issue, but that's all right. Then here's the hi-hats. If I start over mixing from the bottom, so I don't run out of room on the mixer. I swapped around my delay pedals. It's like I said, I have a bunch of them, but I wanted to use a couple specific ones in specific spots, and the hi-hat sort of got the last remaining delay, which is a Boss digital delay DD8, and I cannot get it to sort of sit properly. The pedal I had in there before, I can't remember which one I had in there before, but it seemed like no matter where I turned the time pot on the delay, it was just felt right. This one, I cannot get the feel right. Well, that's all right. All right, I take it all back. So the hi-hat sounds, I freaking love how these sound. And it is one hi-hat is just going straight out of the hi-hat. The second one is hi-hat narwhal, so to speak, into a binary filter coming out of high pass. I ran out of filter of crows because I only got 2 of them before they all sold out. So I had to pull out a binary filter, which sounds great. That's going, but it doesn't match. But that's high pass going out, and that's being modulated by the multi-tool in the East Beast, which is set to a random, just to give it some bounce. And I think it really, really works. I think the hi-hats sound fantastic. Herman told me he would help me mix everything before the show, so I'm going to take everything over at his place and be like, okay, help me make it sound good on my mixer so that when I play live, it really, really pops. So when you hear the water in the context of the song, you realize, oh no, it is actually... it's on beat. But when it's soloed, you can't tell. And I think that's super cool. Really, really interesting. The birds, however, are not. The birds are whatever they want to be. I think it sounds fantastic. definitely happy with this. How can the bubbles be too high? It should be all bubbles. Alright, now the train wreck will be when I switch patterns. I haven't worked out the jump between these yet. Fan of using the SQ64 for sequence programming, because especially for drums, because you really can just sort of bang away at it and experiment with stuff and find things that sound interesting. And there's enough flexibility in the sequencer as far as setting gate lengths and setting chants and that type of stuff that you can keep it cool. I am changing patterns in the SQ64, but as you can tell, when you do that, it's extremely abrupt. So when I perform, I'm going to have to find a way to do it in a very smooth way. So I have, I don't have it patched in right yet, but I have a local parks and a dynamics and down here that I plan on doing like a nice mellow drone with that I can use as a bed as I sort of go from one patch to another. That's the hope anyway. Although I am out of spots on my mixer, so I don't know. But we'll figure it out. Yeah, you can't go wrong with bubbles. 2 SQ64s in a mixer. I wouldn't get 2 SQ64s. 1, sure. 2, it's I think Korg is killing the platform, and I don't think it's good enough to own 2. That's my opinion. I do like the one I have, but I don't know if I would recommend 2. Yes, I need a DJ mixer to go. It'd just be abrupt, you know, people are fine with that, right? Like, I don't know any jokes, but... Some of these patterns don't work with the current set of sounds either. That's fine. I can just work through them and one sound at a time and one sequence at a time until they are slightly more interesting, maybe. Thanks, Danielle. That's good. Yeah, that's exactly why the SQ64 is $130 because they're just getting rid of them. But for $130, it's a great deal. I could just stop it, or I could load something that's empty and just kind of stare at everybody for a minute. I guess the birds will keep going because they're not tied to the sequencer. So maybe that's it. It's just birds between tracks. Like, hi everybody, how you doing? Nice day we had today, isn't it? Yeah. And if I tell a bad joke, the birds make it even worse, which is, I think that's good. It took me a long time to work out these two sounds on the Taiga to get this exact sound that I wanted. And I'm not sure. I love how they both sound. But I feel like they're too close together. I wish they were a little further apart. I've tried just shifting them an octave, and it doesn't really accomplish. If I shift it down an octave, the sound kind of loses it a little bit, and it starts to sound almost bell-like, and that's not what I want. In this octave, it still has that string sound, that sort of plucked string sound that I was looking for. Maybe if I pop the other one up an octave. Oh, that's interesting. This kind of sound up an octave. This kind of sounds. That sounds pretty good. It sounds very toy-like. It's like a toy piano sound. Yeah, I dig it. Now these sounds don't work together at all. That's all right. I don't know. I'm not sold on this sound. Maybe it doesn't need a sound. Maybe I could use... If I drop out the voltage lab, I feel like these two are fine on their own. Maybe the idea is to use the voltage lab as the transition. So then I have the local parks and the voltage lab that I can have something set up that sort of works. Everything's in the same key, so I could flow in and out of that. I think that would be an interesting way to do it. That way I wouldn't have to worry about having I don't know. I'll have to play with that a little bit. I think that's an interesting way to do it. No, we're not going to loot. The voltage lab will be happy. Happy face. It'll just have a different job, that's all. So if I can do something interesting with these waveforms, which I suspect I can. Something mildly dissonant. A guesstimation on the drum machine project would be next year. Where it stands right now is that the first handmade sample prototype is sitting on my desk, but I have to write the software to the point where we can test the hardware. And I haven't done that yet. think it's getting there. Maybe... It's tough to get the local parts in tune because there's so much modulation going on. MB says, VL2, will it be sound-wise the same? Is it the VL plus extras? Kinda. I guess that's the... You can say that, sure. The idea is we didn't want to start from scratch. And the reason we didn't want to start from scratch is not very many people had an opportunity to get a voltage lab. So I didn't want to put out something that was completely different sonically, because I think the voltage lab has a really special sound, and I wanted it to be true to that. So what we did was we sort of walked through each section of the voltage lab and said, okay, what can we want the voltage lab to always be a showcase of what our research is doing currently. So we said, okay, what can we do to enhance the oscillators? What can we do to enhance the function generators? So we sort of step through each thing, and everything is sort of the next generation. And that's the difference. No, see, the Voltage Lab 2, we're not going to use the... it's not going to be the same type of marketing. We have a whole completely different, absolutely ridiculous idea for the Voltage Lab 2 marketing that I suspect you're all going to find pretty fun. And if not, well, you don't have to watch the videos, but I recommend it because they're going to be fun. So I think something like this is cool for a sort of middle sound, because now it's just sort of clicky and beepy, which kind of works. So I can kind of get here, and then from here, switch up the patterns. kind of sounds cool anyway. Yeah, that'll get me from track to track. That's all right. I'm not used to performing live with pre-prepared music. I'm used to improvising. So the idea of finding a way to get from one track to another has never been a problem, because it's sort of been a fade. But now it has to be. Now I figure out a way to do it. One of the nice things about the SQ64 is that I can do I can change the track or change the sequence for just one part at a time. So if I want to switch the drums and then switch the bass and then switch the two leads, I can do that. I don't know where that'll get me, but it does sound a lot better when you ease your way into a track than when you sort of abruptly start in the middle, though. It's like dropping the needle. I forgot I was supposed to switch. I was supposed to switch the pedals for the one Taiga. That's totally better. Totally different. I think the next step is I have to go in and write another sequence for each sequence that's sort of a fill or I don't want to say a chorus, but just an alternate. Something that's a little bit different that I can bounce between. Because I really don't have that at all right now. If I swap the bass line, we'll see what happens. Alright, that kind of worked out better than I thought it would. Brainwashed This Way asked, create a question about the Nifty keys, asking what the key feel is, asking to cite other examples. I know you didn't ask me, but I would put it in the same ballpark as my Juno 106 was in. It definitely has a synthesizer feel, but I'm not a keyboard player, so I haven't played a million keyboards. Create might be able to help you out more, but that's my 2 cents. Yeah, then this local park, it really works then to bring it in. Yeah, I would say the keyboard feels solid but synthy. It doesn't feel piano-y at all. It feels solid but synthy. Alright, it's a work in progress, but I think I'll get there. Yeah. The kitchen sink sound. Is that really what people are looking for, though? Well, the local parks could get really overwhelming really fast. So angry. So angry. Why is it so angry? Such an angry oscillator. We're not known for doing angry stuff. Need to put local parks and Big O in a case. I'm gonna duke it out. We could mix in the local park's pre-dynamics and just make it part of the fun. Yeah, that sounds good. Then just blow it out with a delay. No, the VRL is not angry. Local Park's oscillator is angry. Voltage Lab is very kind. Not sure this sound really works with my whole I want things to sound like things theme of this set, though. Unless your theme is hitting hammers against steel beams. Which maybe it is. I made the rules. They could be anything I want, I suppose. I'm using the secondary oscillator to modulate the local park's LFO. And they're interacting in very strange ways. You're getting these weird dropouts. It's very cool. This is another one of the sounds that there's no way I would ever be able to tune this. There's one way that Taiga is better than Voltage Lab. The echoes delay in here, Michael redesigned the feedback so that this one gives you a lot more echoes before it starts to self-oscillate. It's a lot more in control. It'll still self-oscillate, but this one, it falls in quite a bit sooner. But it's been a while since I've played around with it. That's funny. Yeah. I absolutely love that sound. It sounds so broken. Just like I'm little kids like banging on a little plastic keyboard. I absolutely love it. Just that and some bubbles. That's the best comment. Hi there. This is quirky. I love it. Yes, it is. So how do I lean into the quirky? I want it to sound more quirky and less like the orb. Dolphin sounds. Oh no. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have the research budget to do dolphin sounds. Oh, that's a good question. There are a few similarities between Taiga and the VRL-1. What are the differences besides wave folder per oscillator? This requires some serious music. Bubbles and birds. Okay, what are the differences? Well, the obvious ones. Taiga has 2 full ADSRs. So that's certainly East Coast inspired, where the Voltage Lab has 2 function generators. Based off of the Surge dual slope generator, very West Coast inspired. The Voltage Lab was really meant to be 2 complete voices, so you have a pair of everything, with the exception of the analog delay at the output. So you have 2 dynamics, 2 function generators, 2 oscillators. And that's really all it was. There's a noise and sample and hold, but the core of it was just 2 sets of 3 really good sounding circuits. So Taiga is sort of a different beast entirely. It has 3 oscillators, each with their own wave folder, that all then go into one mixer to mix those sounds through one filter through one dynamics and then through one echoes delay. So it really is, you can almost think of it like if you take the Voltage Lab and the SV1, so you have the East Coast inspiration of the SV1 and the West Coast inspiration of the Voltage Lab, and you created a more East Coast style, more playable synth. I know in none of the videos I've done, I don't ever have a keyboard hooked up to it playing it, but that's because I can't play. But it was designed to be played by people much, much more talented than me. It's meant to be very accessible to people that enjoy playing keyboards. That said, it's obviously fully patchable just like the Voltage Lab is. That's another difference, is that Taiga's normal. You don't need patch cables to use it. The Voltage Lab, like we found out earlier, it doesn't make a sound unless you have patch cables in it. Also, Taiga is sort of a generation ahead in quite a few aspects. So it's the next version of the wave folder. It's the next version of the warp circuit, the next version of the dynamics, the next version of the delay. Because I was talking about, Michael redid the feedback circuit that we used in the Voltage Lab for Taiga because we wanted it to go longer before, we wanted more echoes before it started to feed back. So even the things that are similar have been pushed forward a little bit. Your Kingdom for a VL1 noise and random CV souped up into a separate Safari module. That's the Gibbon. It was essentially taking the code from the Voltage Lab, putting it in a module, and then expanding on it a bit, adding some more points to be modified. And the Gibbon was an experiment working towards the Voltage Lab 2. The random or pseudo-random section of the Voltage Lab 2 is much closer to the Gibbon than it is the original Voltage Lab. The original Voltage Lab, certainly the digital random that was added, was done after the hardware was finished, so it had no UI of its own. It relied on sort of secret button presses and all that to change the parameters. But it was tied directly into and designed, the Voltage Lab 2 was designed knowing it was going to have this. So it does have a UI in the Voltage Lab 2, which is very, very nice. Because it makes it feel, you want to use it more, because it's hands-on, and it's right in front of you the whole time. Jack Mandrake says, the Gibbon is amazing, probably my most used Safari module. I always bounce between having one or two in my case. I always have one, absolutely, and then if I have 2 HP left at the end, I'll put a second one in. It's just so easy to add a little bit of random here and there. It makes patches so much better to add a little bit of chaos to them. And the Gibbon is somewhat controllable, which makes it even nicer. The idea that you can set the number of stages, although you can't see how many stages you're setting, you get a sort of sense based on what you can hear on the loop that it's sort of trying to reproduce each time. That's one of the changes between the Gibbon and the Voltage Lab 2 is when you set the number of stages, there's the display, you can see exactly how many stages you're setting it. So if you set it to 16 steps, you can see there's 16, and it's, so you know, you want it set to 8, you can set it to 8, that type of thing. So there you go. I don't know how many Gibbons are left, so let's not go Gibbon crazy, but I think there are a few left. Yeah, the random stuff in the Microvolt 3900, that was sort of the genesis of all this. That instrument, the Microvolt is so critical in the progression of Pittsburgh Modular and the direction that we've chosen to focus our research and focus our energies on. The Microvolt really was the turning point for us. And I know it wasn't a huge success commercially, but it really set in our minds what we were interested in from an analog standpoint as far as researching, and what we were interested in focusing our energies on as far as innovation and inventing things. So that, even though it wasn't a huge success, a hugely important instrument. I think I have one. Yeah. Right up, right there, right above my head. Right next to my Radio Shack Moog. And I think if you have a Brainwash This Ways has a 3900, so I'm sure you can see the similarities in the Microvolt and Taiga. Obviously, they're different instruments, but we took a lot from the Microvolts when we were working on Taiga. Oh, Danielle says, we are okay on Gibbons, go Gibbon crazy. So let's... Crazy. Yeah, so I think that is that's the patch lab. If anyone has any specific questions about the patch that I have going, I'm sure I'm going to do another one of these sort of as I've done this for another week or two, and I've gotten a little bit better. I'm sure I'll do another live stream once this is even a step further. Oh no, Gibbons are sold out now. Madness. I think I heard Danielle running across the floor upstairs, so maybe she was going to look. So I'm sure we can fix that if that's the case. I'm glad you got to be here for the end too. So again, if anyone has any questions about the patch, I walked through a couple of the sounds. I didn't walk through every single one of them, but like I said, I am going to do more of these with this same patch as it continues to evolve and change over the next few weeks before the performance. It's still in the relatively rough stages. I'm not happy with my drone with the local parks and the voltage lab. I'm going to give that some serious time and some serious thought and come up with something. But I do like the idea of having these guys sort of be the bed and be the wash drone at the bottom. So that's going to be my next focus, because that then allows me to bounce in and out of everything else, which I think will work really well. Yes, the Microvolt was super snappy. Super snappy. Oh, now we have 4 Gibbons. Oh my goodness. The drama. I am learning Taiga too, which is a beautiful thing. We had a... We'll go back to bubbles. I like the bubbles. It makes me feel like I'm in some sort of children's laboratory where all they're doing is having little beakers with bubbles coming out of them. That's kind of funny. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I did a today. I did a video with Michael was here with me, and with Nick and Gaz for Sonic State, and that's you say I'm learning Taiga 2. Well, that video is I don't know how long. I don't know how long it'll be in the end when Nick edits it down, but it was us filming for an hour and a half. Really, just those guys were just kind of learning it, and I was talking through it with them, and the sounds were really raw, but you could feel the energy, and we were all having a good time, and it was so much fun. And I think that's what Taiga really shines at, is that you get excited to dive in. And Nick would patch something up, and he would say, yeah, you can do this, and it sounds really good. And I would say, oh, well, if you press this button or if you patch this, you can do these other things as well. For instance, Nick was saying it would have been great, if you were able to overdrive going into the filter. And I said, well, all you have to do, because it's fully modular, you take the output of the mixer, patch that into the preamp, change the gain of the preamp to 30, and you're gonna drive that filter like crazy, and it sounds really good. And he was like, oh, okay. So just little things like that are hidden all over this instrument. And that's what makes it fun, because it is fully modular. I'm not trying to dictate to anybody what they can and can't do. I haven't hidden the filter input. I haven't limited what you can do with the mixer, the oscillator. The idea that the mixer can be broken down and used as two different mixers. One for CV, one for audio, or two for audio. I think is super cool. But yeah, it's been the last couple months. I've been really Taiga focused, and it's been a blast learning it even more than I knew it. But just using it a lot as an artist in the last month has been really, really fun, where I was finally able to sort of take off my engineering hat and not worry about it, where I could just simply enjoy it and make sounds that I liked listening to and enjoy the process without feeling like, oh, is that right? No, it's right. We worked on this for a long time. It's exactly how we want it to be. There's reasons. Every decision had a reason. So to simply enjoy it now has been so much fun. Absolutely super fun. And with the bubbles in the background, even though I'm saying serious things, it just makes everything ridiculous and silly. And I think that's important. It doesn't have to, see, that's the thing. You don't have to replace anything with Taiga. It's happy to play with whatever you have. You can use bits and pieces here and there. And just incorporate it into what you have, or add a little bit here, add a little bit there. If you've decided Taiga is great, except you need 3 envelopes, or you need a function generator to do the things you need to do, well, that's fine. It's because it's fully patchable, you can add those things. And that's really nice, because it doesn't limit you and say, no, this is all you'll ever be able to do with it. Like if you wanted to add 17 phase shifter modules after it, who am I to judge? I would encourage that strongly. It does have its own case, yeah. See, everything I say sounds silly because I have bubbles in the background. I've now moved outside. What I need behind me is a green screen, and I can change it. I could go from the bubbles to the backyard. That would be pretty fun. Fred, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I like my fish tank. I need a lava lamp. I do need a lava lamp. It would look really nice right there. I could put it next to the Buchla. Back there. It would look better. A lot cheaper than the Buchla. It'd look better. So if anyone wants to trade a lava lamp for the Buchla, just let me know. I have a travel case for it, so it'll get there safely. Lava lamp to CV. You could do that. You could just use like a light sensor. That would be awesome. You need that new plasma synth that I saw on Matrix the other day. That thing was bonkers. I think everybody needs a plasma synth. You can play with magnets. How cool is that? Magnets. They're the future. Well, ball bearings are the future, but magnets and ball bearings together, I think you've got something. I have no idea how they work. It's on Matrix Synth. You can't miss it. Heliospherical dread. You're right. It's all ball bearings these days. I gotta watch that movie again. I love that movie. Oh, I see someone bought a Gibbon. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have to assume it's somebody watching the live stream, but I appreciate it. Oh, that was Chase. Thank you so much. That will ship out tomorrow. You will get a Gibbon and probably a shit ton of patch cables. We've been using patch cables as packing material recently, so we have a lot of patch cables that we can't sell because they're sort of new old stock, but they were mislengths. And so when we received them, we said, no, we can't accept these. They're all the wrong length. They're all different lengths. So the factory said, all right, just you keep those, we'll send you more. So we just had cases and cases of mislength blue patch cables. So we've been using them as packing materials for everyone that gets modules, which if you get a module, it's nice to get a couple cables too. Frozas will be Will we be selling any kind of sequencers, touch controllers in the near future? I missed out on one for the SV1B. Looking forward to Voltage Lab's setup. Yeah, the Voltage Lab is going to come with a ridiculous touch controller sequencer. It's 90 HP. And then we may or may not have something much, much smaller and a different kind of thing in the works as well. But the sequencer for the Voltage Lab 2 is very cool. And if you're familiar with the sequencer that was in the Voltage Lab 1, or the touch controller that was in the Voltage Lab 1, I guess it's not really like that at all. Other than it does have a touch surface. But that's about where the similarities end. They both had knobs. Yeah, I gotta work on that. Woo. Any update on the local parks or Toad release dates? No, they're going to be later this year. The reality is we don't have time to work on them right now. We're busy with other things. So they're both finished, but they have to go to manufacturing, and we're probably not going to do that until summer, with the idea that they'll come out late summer. That's the idea, unless something drastically changes. But the idea is to do them both at the same time. But we're sort of in a holding pattern because we have a million other things going on that we're all sort of excited about and interested in at the moment, and to take the time out to do logistics doesn't make sense. And we do still have drum modules available, so until we are lower on the drum modules, it doesn't make sense to do more modules for us at the moment. By considering taking some more popular Safari modules and adding them to more permanent product lines. The Florist will be in the Voltage Lab 2. All of the drums, all the drums, give or take, will be in the drum machine. The Filter of Crows is in Taiga, just split, sort of. The Bat is in everything. So most of the Safari modules, with the exception of a few things I can't talk about yet, everything is going to go into something. That was the point of the Safari modules, is that they all we were working on them for some reason. So yeah, they all will be in something. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed your question. Since I don't want to bug you with the same question twice, but would you mind talking about how you hook up your pedals with your synth? I would love to talk about that because I love hooking up pedals with synths. So, we don't need two of me. So I have a pedal board over here that has a bunch of pedals on it, and a pedal board here that has a couple pedals, and then it has the sequencer down here. And basically what I do is, like, on the outputs on the Taiga, I just have my 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch cable, and that goes out of Taiga and into the pedals. So for example, T2, as it's labeled, Taiga 2, this cable goes into 3 pedals over here. There's a Boss PH3 phase shifter, and then a Boss Space Echo, and then a Fairfield Circuitry something or other. I can't remember what it's called. Right now I have the Space Echo and the phase shifter on. the other Taiga is labeled T1, and so I don't forget this stuff, I use, you can see it a little bit here, I use red painter's tape with a Sharpie to mark which instrument it is. So Taiga 1 is going through a Boss analog delay, and then a Walrus Audio Juliana. And that's pretty much it. There's a couple modules that were just most of the stuff I could just go straight out of the modules into a pedal. There's a few that were too hot, like the hi-hats were just too hot for the pedals and they were distorting. So I have a giraffe module sort of hidden here that I'm just using as attenuators between the outputs of the modules and the pedals. And it's really that simple. And then I take the output of that, I take the output of the pedals, and everything goes into its own channel in the mixer. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So just sort of treating each basic voice in the modular as a synth and just patching it into using the mixer. I had a mixer in my case, but it was a prototype, and it was a little bit bleedy, and it didn't have quite the feature set that I was hoping that I needed for this show. So I had to switch to an outboard mixer, which in the end is going to be really helpful because it's going to allow me to record the show very easily as individual tracks, so I can then take it back and do some editing in Ableton and hopefully, put it up for everyone to download someday. Yes, the shallow water. I'm sorry. Fairfield Circuitry shallow water. I love how that thing sounds, and I'm sort of fascinated by it. I saw a bunch of demos on the internet, and I'm like, you know what? I bet I could do that with just Taiga. So I got one, so I could play with it and really understand what it was doing and how it was working. And because of the analog delay and the dynamics in Taiga, you can get that, and using the random generators in Taiga, you can get that super lo-fi sort of tape wobble sound. Maybe I'll do a live stream on that at some point, but it sounds really cool. Like, if you want that super lo-fi vibe, the Echoes is really great for that. Just wobble it just a little bit, and then roll off the dynamics, just like they have the low-pass gate in the shallow water. Really, really cool. So all of those, pretty much everything in this pedal is built into Taiga, and you can build it. That said, chaining a Taiga into that, is another level of wave shaping that just adds more depth to a sound, which I thought sounded very cool. Really hoping to get a Crows at some point if possible, or whatever its successor. The Crows will not be coming back. The successor was the Filter of Crows, which sold out very, very quickly as well. I'm sure we will do another filter because, like I was saying, I only got 2 Filter of Crows, and I would like another one. I have a regular Crow up here that I'm using for the kick drum, but I'm sure we'll do another filter. But the idea is that we have to wait until we have a reason, something that we need to test, the next version of it, so to speak. So maybe closer to the end of the year or early next year, we will have another filter module. Because it's sort of, that is so ingrained in the Pittsburgh sound that we would have to do it. but we don't have any concrete ideas or anything yet. We are at the moment at least 2 years, probably more, backed up on really, really good new things. So it's going to be, when we start working on the next generation of stuff, that's when things like that will come out. But in the meantime, we have so much good stuff that's not only available now, but that will be, sort of trickling out over the next year or two. That it's very cool. We're lucky to be a part of this partnership with Create Audio, because they've really helped us and allowed us to do what we do, but do it really at another level, which has been so exciting and so much fun. So shout out to Create. I don't know if he's still here or not. I know he's here at the beginning. But yeah, those guys are great, and I appreciate all the help they've given us, certainly over the last 3.5 years. And we've got so much more cool stuff with those guys in the future. So many more things. But don't worry about the future. You can make music with whatever you have. I'm sure everybody here has more synths than they know what to do with. Whether it be hardware synths or plugins or iPad apps, you have infinite ways to make music. Just turn something on and make weird sounds. Put the headphones on and just enjoy it. Very abrupt. Sorry, guys. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up here, but I wanted to say a few things for the people that are watching. We do have a live stream this Friday. It will not be with me, but it will be with Herman and Bus. It's gonna be great, and there'll be dancers. Brie Dominique is gonna be there. I will be there, but I will not be performing. I will be enjoying their fine musicianship. So tune in to that Friday. I'm not sure exactly when it is, but there'll be a YouTube thing up sooner or later, early tomorrow. And yeah, I have a Bandcamp page now, which I have one song up on, and it's basically a snippet from one of the drone that I did on YouTube, drone streams that I did. But I plan on putting more music up there as it is ready, which is kind of fun. I haven't had anything like that in a long time. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will do this again probably next week hopefully I get a little further than I am now, and we will go from there. I will be playing with Herman and Bus next week as well on Wednesday night. So yeah, that is that. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me, and I will see you all hopefully sooner than later, because I enjoy these quite a bit. So thank you very much everybody. Talk to you later.